How to not get hooked by a narcissist. Breaking up with a narcissist is like quitting heroin. Does that sound a little extreme? No, really, it's comparable. Some things I hear a lot. I'm finally free and have no contact, but I can't stand it. I know they're really bad for me, but I want them back in the worst way. I was miserable with them, but I'm even more miserable without them. I'm losing my mind. I feel so depressed, anxious, and empty. I can't tell anyone because they don't understand what I'm going through and they just think I'm crazy for trying to make this relationship work. Hi, I'm Shannon Petrovich with Therapist Talks Thrive Beyond Narcissism. Does this sound like you? How can this possibly be so difficult to try to sever this bond? There are a number of reasons, but some of the main reasons have to do with the games narcissists play. Their games are so manipulative, confusing, disorienting, and ultimately destructive that the damage is really hard to overcome and the trauma bond is really difficult to untangle. The result is very much like an addiction. The addiction starts with love bombing. Right off the bat, people with narcissistic qualities tune right into your very deep, old personal stories. Not because they care about you and what you've been through in the past, but because it provides them a framework to manipulate you and control you way into the future. Sometimes this feels like they really want to get to know you, but often you may feel in your gut that they're digging a little too far, a little too fast. They find the most sensitive pain points, including your deepest needs and your worst fears. By making yourself vulnerable, you're already getting yourself off balance, but not answering their probing questions makes you feel like you're being cold or disconnected. They use your needs of wanting to be loved or to belong or to lean on someone to set that hook so they reel you into that relationship. Then they use your worst fears to tear you down. They pepper in degrading you, devaluing you, and poking those most sensitive wounds of yours to keep you off balance and living on breadcrumbs. They actively cycle the love bombing and the devaluing so that you feel your entire sense of self and reality begins to be wrapped up in what they think and feel about you. Initially, you may be dazzled by their love bombing and their feigned interest in your life. It's really hard to distinguish between love and love bombing, and many people get lost in the manipulation right in the beginning of the relationship. You become addicted to that feeling of loved. Then you spend the rest of your relationship trying to get back to that initial high. Unlike a normal relationship, being with a narcissist means that everything has to be about them. You quickly learn that what they think, what they feel, want, and need is what matters, and what you have to say has to take a back seat. If you try to have any of your needs met or express any of your thoughts or feelings, they will collapse into immature behaviors that make it really clear that that's not acceptable. They then withhold their attention when you don't do what they want and how they want it and when they want it. You want that high of being loved, so you placate and people please yourself into a teeny tiny box. So just like a drug, over time you have to work harder to get that feeling of being loved. They essentially train you to pressure yourself to focus on and try to meet their every whim. When you do get a little rush of love bombing from them, and when you don't, you experience their anger, tears, drama, implosions, and explosions. These manipulations just drive that hook deeper and deeper until you're fully addicted, and separating from them becomes excruciatingly painful. Just as with a drug, it is much easier not to fall for a narcissist than it is to recover from a toxic relationship. How do you know if someone is falling in love with you or love bombing you? These are essentially 4 warning signs or red flags, and I'm going to give you 4 strategies, one for each, for preventing yourself from being hooked. Number 1 is time. Love bombing comes in hot. Actual love takes time to grow. You need time to learn what a person's character qualities are and their overall personality is like. You need time to see how they handle stress, disappointment, upset, sadness, frustration. This doesn't happen overnight. When you're beginning a relationship, it's very important that you take the time it takes to get to know this person really, really well, before you get emotionally and physically involved. Actual love grows from someone genuinely caring about and respecting you. Also, real love respects your timing, your thoughts and feelings. Love bombing tends to come in so hot that you have no space to process the relationship. So, strategy number 1, see what happens if you slow things down. What happens if what you want to do is different than what they want to do? What happens if you don't want to take things quite the speed that they want to take things? If your reaction to their love bombing is not adoration and losing yourself, and what matters to you constantly following them around and what matters to them, just notice. Number 2, mirroring is another manipulation that often looks like love. The person acts like everything that matters to you matters to them. Everything you say, they mirror right back, they agree with everything, and appear to see everything the same way you do. This usually won't last long, as it goes completely against their grain to focus on you and what matters to you. So what they like and what they want has to come first eventually. So strategy number 1 of taking time is also going to help you in this area. Because if you take that time and step back a bit, you will see that their mirroring and agreeing with everything starts to wane. In addition, strategy number 2 is what happens if you express a differing opinion, if you want to do something else, if you challenge them to see something from a different perspective, or if you disagree with them directly. If they're open to hear your differences of perspective, learn about you, and respectfully engage in conversation around these differences of opinion, and truly hear and honor your thoughts and feelings, then this possibly may be more love and not love bombing. But if they lapse into immature behaviors, then you know this is merely mirroring. Number 3, notice their attitudes towards others. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. Typically, narcissistic people cannot keep up this front in all areas of their lives or in all relationships in their lives. So it's extremely important to notice the other relationships and people in their lives. Often they will avoid introducing you to their friends or family or anyone else. This should be a warning. So skill number 3, notice how they treat other people and even how they talk about other people. What do they say about their colleagues at work, the members of their family, their exes, or even the waiter at a restaurant? If they tend to tear other people down, laugh at other people's pain, or act like other people are stupid and they are the smartest person in the room, that's a huge red flag. They also may, in the early part of love bombing, praise you for being the other smartest person in the room. Rather than being complimented by this, you should be wary. This is another type of mirroring that I've seen a lot. Number 4, the hot air balloon. Narcissists are like a giant hot air balloon, and they need constant hot air puffed into them in order to stay aloft. They need adoration, attention, all the focus, and when they don't get what they need, they implode or they explode. So these games only work if you play your part, which with a narcissist is adoring, puffing them up, bolstering their fragile ego, accepting all their games and manipulations, and never expressing any contrary views. Recognize it's not your job to puff others up. If that's something that you've had a habit of doing around others, you need to check yourself. You are not responsible for others' emotions, and your value is not hooked into being someone's adoring fan club. A mature relationship involves 2 whole people who get together to enjoy each other, challenge each other, encourage each other's growth, encourage each other's dreams. So skill number 4 is notice your thoughts and feelings and express them sooner and more assertively in a relationship. And then step back and watch what happens. If the person pouts, gets emotional, gets irritable, frustrated, angry, implodes, or explodes, you have a toxic, love-bombing, mirroring, manipulative person on your hands. They are expecting you to puff them up, placate their emotions, predict and prevent every mood, and none of these things are your job. When you notice those things, that's your indication to dip out. Remember, it's easier to never start using heroin than it is to stop. And it's so much easier to prevent yourself from getting into a relationship with a narcissist than it is to get out of one. Take your time. Don't be pushed into something. Keep your wise mind on board and don't settle. Recognize that being with a toxic person is never better than being alone. The trauma, the stress, the destruction to your sense of self is much more difficult to heal from than you might guess when you're going in. If any of this resonates and you're interested in hearing more about dealing with and healing from toxic relationships, hit the link below, watch the free training video, and book a call with me. Let's talk. Take good care of yourself, and I'll talk to you again soon.